Hey everyone, it's Mark, your firefighter realtor and out-of-state investor. Today, my guest is Sham Patel from Sham Invest. And I think you guys are going to love this story. I mean, because so far, a lot of people that I've interviewed, they have properties, they're kind of further along this journey. But Sham has an amazing story of how he's getting into real estate and how he's getting money and kind of how he's going to acquire assets. So, Sham, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Hey everybody, I'm Shyam from New Jersey. Um, I've always been an entrepreneur, been always about, hustling, making money, money on my own, things like that, sales, investing. And yeah, for the first time, I wanted to actually just go all in on the real estate. And that's kind of where I come from, New Jersey boy. And yeah, that's about it.
Well, how about you tell my audience kind of like how old you are and kind of what you were doing before you kind of headed down this path of strictly of real estate?
Yeah. So I'm 23 and I've always been into sales. Like even when I was in high school, I would always be, doing services like shoveling snow, things like that, fixing people's cars, even like fixing people's phones. I would just go ahead and sell like the weirdest services to make money on my own. And I would always go ahead and perform them as well. So I got into servicing cars, as a job after, like, that was like my first real sales and service job. And after that, I got introduced to car sales. I went full on into a used car dealer and did car sales for about like 6 months to a year, I would say, roughly, before I got introduced to solar and cold calling. So that was like my introduction to just cold sales, not not prospects already coming in warm wanting the product or service. So now I go into cold calling, things like that. And it was a grind. It showed me how hard sales can really be. And it prepped me up for things like today. After that, I went into just making, like, 2020 happened and everything just went down drain. Lost my job, and it taught me a lot. It taught me that you know, not working for somebody and relying on somebody uh might not be the greatest thing, because at the end of the day, I thought, hey, this was a great job. I'm getting, benefits. I'm getting a full on salary and then commission on top. So for I was like 19 at the time, I was making a good amount of money. I think I was like making 60 to $90,000 roughly. And for a 19-year-old, like, that was like pretty decent, right? And just boom, out of thin air, lost the job. Now everything I've worked up to till then, it just disappeared in thin air, and I hated that feeling. I was without a job for the first time in my life, without income coming in, and it just like struck a panic in me. So after that, I actually started my first business with my buddy Vlad. We actually opened up our own HVAC company, because that's what, like, he does, HVAC all his life. And so we started that together. And 2 years into that, it was just a whole bunch of failure and struggle. Got into trucking after that because I was just done with HVAC. I busted up my face, got a ton of injuries, and I just wasn't about it. I'm more into like business and sales and things like that, and not actually hands-on working too much, right? So then I get to into trucking, and the trucking industry is also slowing down. So then I actually got an ad for door-to-door sales from this like big real estate investor. He owns like a ton of doors. His name's like Chandler Smith, and he runs like a door-to-door company, like just door-to-door sales. And it's he runs like a whole sales system, like a team for a bigger company for pest control and solar. So I went out there under the assumption of, hey, I'm going to get to work alongside with this huge real estate investor. I don't care if I have to do door to door sales. Like, I'm just going to go for it just so I can meet this guy and perhaps learn a ton about real estate with him. And long story short, I didn't really get to learn anything as what I was thinking about real estate when I went there. And I barely got to meet him as well. Maybe like 1 or 2 days I got to say hi, hey, hello, whatever. Um, so he's like this big shot, and I'm just like this new guy, couldn't really get a hold of him. So, anyways, I just went along with it and just did door to door, and it was just super tough. Um, I thought cold calling was hard, but this was a whole different animal, and it really just brought the grit out of me, and I loved it. It really showed me like how hard things can get, and you still have to push through it. And that's why I think I am still sticking around to wholesale and not just giving up because of what I went through in door to door. And then I met a good friend of mine. His name is Mark. Like you, he actually does fix and flips, wholesale, and he also invests into wraps, wraparound mortgages, and he does those. So, long story short, I actually got a hold of him because I met him through door to door sales, and he got me introduced to wholesale real estate. Started asking him for advice and how to get in and how to get started and everything, and he helped me out a lot. He shared like a few courses and just a whole bunch of knowledge with me. Um, and from there, it was just like it was just a whole bunch of grind. I just went full on in. I didn't look back. I said I'm just gonna go all in. I have nothing to lose at this point, and it took me months. It took me months to just start getting closer, uh, because it's not what the gurus make it seem to be. You know, it's not easy at all. It's super hard. And that's why so many people like you'll hear it's like the wholesale industry is designed for just animals, you know. There's like so much competition, and I read like something where it said only 5 to 3% of all new wholesalers actually succeed. So yeah, I just went in knowing that it's going to be just super hard and difficult, and just kept at it. And I knew that hey, I had to work with other people that are already doing business, right? Um, Consistently in order for me to succeed and also just boost my learning curve. So through Mark, I actually met Nick, my partner that I work with now, and yeah, I just said, you know, whatever it takes, I'm down. I will bring value. I will be here day in and day out when no one else will be. And yeah, we just kept going, working together day in, day after, and here we are now. So we're doing a whole lot better since since we've started everything. We started up like a whole new system, and we switched over to creative. He was just doing regular wholesale, and now since the market has pivoted a bit, we've gone into creative, like creative finance and things like that. Um, but yeah, so that's a little bit about me and like the whole story of how I got to this point.
I love it. And you're only 23 and you have all this knowledge and experience already. I mean, that's amazing. I interviewed a couple weeks ago Donato Callahan and Drew McCluskey, and they're the same thing. They're like 24 and 25, and they started Bright Investor, which is like a market data platform for investors and real estate agents. But I'm just amazed at you people that at such a young age have this amazing mindset or even thought of being an entrepreneur or just figuring out at such a young age. Because like I keep telling people, like I was goofing around, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just figured, oh, everyone goes to college, you get a degree, get a regular job. And you guys amaze me with all this, like you're saying, the grit and kind of have this vision of something bigger down the road. And yeah, you mentioned Nick, and we were hoping to have him on also to do this, but he's working on a deal right now. So that's awesome. And maybe we can set up another one next time with both of you on, but too bad he couldn't make it. But I'm glad we have you on because I love your story because like you said, you tried so many things already and some failed and but you always, like you said, you were learning and you're using that now. But kind of what I want to touch on is was real estate always somewhat of a vision, or kind of how did you transition to really kind of focusing, or did you notice something like, hey, you know what, real estate kind of seems like the path for financial freedom?
Yeah, 110%. So there's two things that I always wanted to get into, like always from the beginning of everything was first being able to buy businesses and two, owning real estate and being able to scale real estate. Um, but I knew that, hey, it is always going to require capital. So that's why I always just pursued trying to make money. And I never thought about actually going ahead and just making real estate a platform of me making, money from. I thought it was just too complex and way too saturated for me to go in as the newbie to make some money from this. I thought it was just not possible, right? I knew it was going to be super hard, but I just didn't think I was capable of it before. And then I just saw people doing it, that I already knew at the point from door to door sales. And then I said, like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it as well. Um, I whatever, like, there's people that are stronger than me, taller than me, smarter than me. But there's one thing that I will always come back. And I was there's no sick days for me. There's no lack of like, tired, whatever. Like I'm always there. When someone else calls out or whatever, I'm the guy that's always gonna be there. I will outwork anybody. So knowing that, I thought that, hey, even if it takes me way longer, I'll just stick it out and I will make it happen. But yeah, I got into this whole thing when right before getting into door to door sales, I was trying to buy a fourplex, and it kind of didn't work out. But this is what the whole story was behind it. I tried to go ahead and buy it, but me always being in this sales business and entrepreneurship, I never was reporting too much income for myself on my personal side. I was always reinvesting and keeping everything through the business. Now, with that, I didn't have too much reported income. And even though I had the great credit, have more than enough money to put down on the house, I wasn't qualified because I don't have income on paper showing that, I'll be able to support the home. So I tried to get help from a bunch of family members, got a ton of no's. And long story short, my far-sighted grandfather, he actually, said, hey, show me the deal, show me what everything's all about, and I'll help you out. And yeah, that's exactly what I did. I showed him like, hey, I found this really great deal. We can cash flow like crazy on this. Showed him the money that I have to go ahead and get into the deal, the entry fee, paying out the realtor, closing costs, everything. And also told him my plans on rehabbing the property, um, increasing the rents over there, and told him that, hey, these are, this is my pay that's always coming in, regardless if this works out or not, I will still be able to support this house. And I didn't really give him a reason to say no. And yeah, he wanted to take a chance on me. So we went along, and while we were actually getting ready to structure everything, because getting approved and everything, it takes a quite of a time, especially like the first time, me not having bought houses before. It just took a quite a while. And while we were in the process of it, someone else bought the house and put it under contract. And so I lucked out of a deal, but I actually just said, hey, it's probably just for the better, we'll just go along. Everything happens for a reason. And so I kind of just kept moving along. And that's how I got into creative finance and wanting to, learn more about, hey, there's got to be some kind of method for people to get into real estate without having all the credentials, because I could definitely have bought that property, right? Um, but the banking system is created in a way where it won't allow people like me that are just new to get in. So I knew there was definitely a way, 100%. So just kept looking more and more into it until I stumbled upon it. Um, so yeah, that was like the whole gist of it.
I love it. I love you. You brought up so much things that I want to touch on. I mean, I love that, like you said, you reached out to your grandfather and brought him this deal. But I also kind of want to touch on how you were kind of talking about, you know, um, qualifying for this property, where like you kind of just mentioned that the system, sometimes it's not made for people right out of high school, or don't really have an understanding of building up their credit, or their how do they qualify for a purchase. And you being 23 and already having this kind of knowledge and understanding of how the system works, or what do you have to do to get in position to qualify for these properties, I think that's amazing. Because I tell people all the time, like for me, I didn't realize, like, credit score and all this other type of lending that's out there. I just thought you go to a bank, you drop off your papers, and then they tell you how much you're qualified for. So how much have you learned by starting this? Like, because I always tell people, like, there's so much information out there and it's easily accessible. It's just we're not taught this in school. And for you,
Exactly.
yeah, for you, like, kind of, just like you're saying, from graduating to 23 now, how much have you learned about like financial literacy?
I was like honestly a junkie for that kind of knowledge. Um, when everybody else would just be out partying or whatever, I would honestly I used to like smoke a ton of weed and I used to just like just smoke and just like, watch these videos or just have a ton of books. I would just be reading. Um, even most people would like, watch movies or entertainment. My entertainment was just learning more. So I was like addicted to this knowledge because I just, I don't know, I felt like a drug. Like I was hooked onto just learning on how I can get things happening and moving. So like that's why I just know what I know, and I was able to just go ahead and capitalize on everything as early as it seems. But to me, I was always panicking like, "Oh no, I'm already 19. I don't have a property yet. Oh no." Like I was always panicking, so I was always like, "No, I need to learn more. I need to figure out everything now." That's why I took such a chance of just dropping everything just to go work in door-to-door sales to possibly meet this guy that's a big shot in real estate. So I was always like chasing after this knowledge and chasing after opportunities. Um, and it was that hunger that just, brought out all this knowledge. And you just said it yourself. It's a lot easier learning things right now because we're in like the information era, right? Information is like priceless right now. Anyone can go on YouTube or even just chat GPT now. Um, Information is priceless, and it's just so readily available. And if you're not honestly taking advantage of it, then it's honestly just your fault, you know? So anybody that wants to learn and things like that, all the information is out there, even from people like you and I that are just making YouTube videos and content to show people how it's done, right? So if people haven't achieved something yet, it's just that they don't want it bad enough.
I want to touch on that real quick, because a lot of times people talk about the secrets, or the wealthy. So now, do you think the wealthy have these secrets that they're not, other people aren't aware of? Or is it just all, like you're saying, this information is out there for anyone, and it's just a lot of people don't believe it, or a lot of people don't want to access it, or they just, life is too easy for them just to put money into retirement accounts? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly feel like there's some people that have a scarcity mindset, and then there's some people that have an abundance mindset. And a lot of old folks, especially like Indians, I've felt that a lot. Even like my own family members, they have a ton of scarcity just in their whole life. if they're successful, they just want to keep things to themselves. And I found out that the more abundance you have, the more you're just going to attract. So by just like giving out information and things like that, you're also going to receive a lot. I have this book. No, it's not here with me right now. It's called The Go Giver. And it talks about just exactly that, having an abundance mindset and just putting the information out there. Because from like, let's say, for example, from me or even you teaching people about real estate, how to do these transactions, your story on rentals, how you're actually acquiring property, how I'm doing deals, um, all this knowledge that we're giving out, yes, it's going to benefit so many people and affect so many people, right? But at the end of the day, anyone that we teach, they're most likely, if they need help, they're going to ask us, right? So it honestly, it's giving out such an opportunity for everyone. And by just keeping this, whatever you have a secret, it's just, I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot more by giving in this world. And there's more than enough for everybody to go around, right? There's just such a vast sea of opportunities that if you think that, hey, if I share this knowledge, there's just more competition for me, it's just the wrong way to think. And I honestly don't think anything is really a secret. It's just a majority of the people aren't really focused on learning these secrets. So just because of, like right now there's like basketball game going on or something like that. I don't know too much about it to even like go ahead and watch. I don't know the teams playing, whatever. So to me, like that feels like a secret, but it's really not. The whole world knows about it. It's just I'm not focused on it. So whatever you focus on, you'll eventually learn, and you'll clear, you'll just focus so much on it where you're going to be interested in finding out how things are done, how things came to be, um, just everything about it, right? So, no, I don't think it's a secret. I think people just have to want it bad enough and focus on learning and achieving those things, whatever that may be.
Totally agree. Agree. I same thing like you're saying. I don't think there's any secrets. Like a lot of people that I've encountered and talked to, everyone is willing to share information, talk about their journey, talk about their mistakes, talk about their success, and they're willing to give you, contact informations and help you. I mean, there's just so much deals to go around, and everyone is just trying to help. And like you're saying, I think some people just don't want to believe it or just don't want it enough. And that's, I totally agree with what you're saying. I also want to touch on you talked about your grandfather. You brought him a deal, and you were kind of in position to purchase this fourplex. And I always tell people my story too, that I owe a lot to my parents. My parents helped me out tremendously. Like, I mean, I never thought of myself as an investor, but they did help me, get my condo and start my journey. Even though I probably goofed around a lot and I didn't capitalize on it as much as I should have, as far as leveraging it and growing my portfolio back then. But they did help me. And that's how a lot of people in Hawaii do get started, because their parents hold a lot of equity in their properties, and the properties are so expensive that it is hard for people to make entry. So they do get help from their parents a lot of times. And I feel like a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of times are always saying, "Oh, I don't have the money to start yet. I don't have the funds," and that's their reason not for starting. And for you, I love how you went to go look for the money. Money is out there. You talk to family members. You brought your grandfather a deal, and you showed him the numbers. You showed him what the outcome may be, how you can increase rent. So how did that start? How did you get the thought to like bring these opportunities to family members or look for capital?
Yeah, I honestly, in that, scenario, I wasn't even trying to look for capital. I was trying to look for credit. So me, like I was doing trucking, so I had the capital to go ahead and invest. And the thing was, I didn't have I had a good credit score, but I didn't have the income in my credit, right, to support that. So that was like the big hurdle for me, was to prove to the bank that, hey, I I can 100% qualify for this property if whatever reason these tenants are not paying rent or whatever may go wrong, I can still cover the expenses of the property regardless. Right. So that was my big hurdle. And so I knew like, so many people like Grant Cardone, and Robert Kiyosaki, for example, from Rich Dad Poor Dad, they all leveraged, and not only just money, but people, knowledge, just a little bit of everything, right? So I knew it's all about leverage, not just the money. So I had everything in place, the money, the deal, um, yeah, and just did not have the income on paper to support it to go ahead and transact on this. So I knew I had to go out of my, out of my little bubble to go ahead and find it. So first things first, I thought, hey, just family. And when all my close family members said no, I spoke to my dad and he kind of felt bad, like, hey, my son's been working hard. He finally found a deal he wants to go ahead and invest in. And there's no one really to help him out because my parents don't really make that much money either. So I couldn't really, my parents wanted to help me, but they really couldn't. So then my father reached out to my far side grandfather, and that's how it all, came to be. Because he has a large business background, and he's set now. He's like retired, so he doesn't really worry about ever using his credit again or anything like that. So he said, yeah, why not? Let me give it a shot. But yeah, for money is really not anything. Like if I had $0 to my name, I can still go ahead and invest into properties, can still go ahead and buy a business, can still go ahead and run a business because I came from absolutely nothing. So if I can do it, so can anybody else, right? It's all about providing value because the money is out there, right? The money is always out there, but some people don't have a certain thing to go ahead and transact these deals. Like for example, there's the billionaires out there that are investing into large multifamily and they don't have enough deals to buy, right? So right there alone is a huge problem, and that's for like any kind of business or any kind of venture. There's always these huge hedge funds and investors that have the money and they want to invest, but they don't really have the good investments to go ahead and invest in readily available. So you can come in right there, and that's basically what me and Nick are basically doing right now. Our deals are so good that they get sold out in seconds. Like that is not an issue ever for us to sell them or even invest into them ourselves because it's just whoever has a nice deal. Like that's like the scarcest thing is the investment itself. If you have an investment on pennies on the dollar, then it's a no-brainer for anybody to say no to that, right? So yeah, I think it's just all about providing value and understanding what that value is to certain people, right?
I love it. Before we kind of dive into the wholesaling side, I do want to ask you one question first, kind of about like what you brought to your grandfather. Do you think if you just went to him without, running numbers, without bringing the or presenting him the deal, do you think he would have co-signed or helped you out if you just said like, oh yeah, I want to purchase this thing or I want to invest in this thing without really showing him any numbers or showing the work that you did looking into the deal?
Yeah, no, I thought about that myself too. And anytime I think about something like that, I just put myself into their shoes and I think, so if I was, 70 something years old, built up all of this history on my credit to my name, all of the businesses that I've created, this, that, everything I've been through to get to that point in life. And there was a 19-year-old, no, I was like 21. Yeah. So there was a 21-year-old coming right now to ask me for help and not knowing anything about the property and the deal not even making a sense, as far as like first off just hearing about it, would I say yes? So that's how I thought about it. And I was like, if I was in this situation to hear that, that would have been a huge risk in my eyes. I wouldn't have said yes at all, like any day of the, of the week. So I told myself, like, yeah, I'm gonna have to show him why he shouldn't say no. Right. So that was like the first hurdle. So I had to go ahead and I had to know what I'm talking about, because even like, let's say, even if I didn't just need just his credit, but imagine I needed his money, for example. Would anybody want to invest with me when I don't know what I'm talking about, and let them, just put their money in my name basically, and let me have the control of it when I don't know what I'm doing? I don't know how to even, comp the property. I don't know what the cap rate is. I don't know how much cash it's going to be able to pull out. I don't know what kind of return he's going to get on his money. No, like no one's ever going to do that, right? So, and I was like really heavy into investing and growing my own business. So I knew, like, hey, if I wouldn't do it, why would someone else, right? So I have to make sure that it's a good enough investment in my eyes for me to go ahead and invest into, if I had the capital to do it, in order for someone else to say yes. So that's how I actually just thought about everything. And I had to just, you know, um, acquire all that info and situate it so I can present it to whoever I'm doing business with.
So much wisdom at such a young age. So let's kind of talk about the wholesaling side now, so that my audience, maybe they're in the market that you are finding deals in, or they can reach out to you. But do you and Nick kind of focus on maybe certain markets only, or like how does your deal flow work?
Yeah. So right now it's Texas, Florida, Colorado, and even California. Um, we're open to new markets, but right now this is like our niche. And we have also another partner of ours. His name is Alex. Um, so all of us, we're honestly just going ahead and just hunting for these deals. Um, we basically, so Nick actually sets up the whole thing as far as like text message campaigns, everything with his VA. And we have all these text messages blasted. Um, and the VA goes ahead and sees, like, he filters out through which ones reply and which ones are interested, and we'll go ahead and cold call them. Um, and we go ahead and just, it's a follow-up game. It's about building relationships. And once, the deals are like super close to the edge, then I would go ahead and say, like, hey, Nick, we got something like real hot here. Let's I need some help here with whatever it is, like, paperwork or whatever. And he'll guide me to the finish line. That's like how my first deal went. He I love this about Nick, because he actually been doing this for like 2.5, 3 years now. And he learned, like, majority of everything on his own. So he's been through a whole bunch of deals falling apart because something went wrong or whatever. So he just lets me go ahead and shoot my shot and go, put myself under the fire. And when things get really heated and things are about to just fall apart, then I say, like, okay, if I don't get Nick here or get his advice here, this deal is going to fall apart. That's when I go and say, like, hey, Nick, there's a whole like world of chaos going on right now. I need your help. And then he'll be more than happy to help me out, because I took the initiative. And that's kind of how like my first deal went. Um, he just let me handle everything, and I didn't even know what I was doing. And I was just super stressed. I was like walking back from, like breaking a sweat. I was like super stressed out. I was going through title, and like I didn't know what was going on, because there was just a whole bunch of problems with taxes and liens. And I never went through this, so I never even understood the entire process from start to finish. So yeah, he just let me go under the fire and experience what he's experienced, right? Um, when he was in like the whole learning process. And then once I'm about to almost fall off the edge, he'll just pick me back up and make sure the deal goes through. So yeah, it's like a huge blessing to have him, and I'm super thankful because he's cutting my learning curve nearly into half, right? Um, Obviously, I'm also like trying my hardest to learn as much as I can. Anytime I'm not working, I'm either studying or making content about things I've just learned, right? And I try to sum it up so others can learn exactly what I'm going through right now. So yeah, that's a little bit of what our whole like work looks like, um, and how our campaigns are. It's just all through text and cold call for the most part, and relationships with agents or even just direct sellers.
So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but you have a, kind of social media presence, Instagram, YouTube. I mean, where can people kind of reach out to you if they want to chat with you and talk about wholesaling or even deals, coming through the pipeline?
Yeah, my Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, everything's the same handle. It's Shyam Invests. And yeah, feel free to DM me, whatever. And I'd love to go ahead and help anybody out. Even if somebody has a deal that they're, you know, not okay, or don't have the correct resources to get rid of it or do the paperwork or whatever have you, or even if it's just a deal that's super hot and it needs to be closed out and you don't want to screw it up or something, let's JV. It'll be my pleasure to help anybody out. I'm all about sharing info and helping everybody grow. So that's where you guys can find me, and I'm more than happy to help you.
How long have you been doing the social media side of things? Because I kind of just started, and it's a challenge. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun doing it, but what have you noticed doing the social media thing?
Oh boy, that's a real hot subject right there. So Pace Morby, he's like one of our mentors into creative finance and everything. And in his course, he actually has a section for social media, and he talks about building copies of yourself, like clones, right? So I really like, took a hold of that knowledge, and I needed to capitalize on it immediately. And it took me months and months and months to get the courage to go ahead and do it, because I thought I can't provide people value. There was no point of me going onto YouTube or anything like that. Um, so it wasn't just me just being scared to screw something up or anything like that, but it was me not knowing, like, hey, should I even do this? Like, would people even watch me? And so I actually told my friend Mark, the one that I first met, about investing in wholesale. I told him, hey, bro, I mean, you've been doing so many deals, you've done fix and flips, you've accomplished so much, and he's younger than me. So I'm like, why don't you have a YouTube or anything like that? People would love to watch you and your journey and your entire experience through everything. And he was like, no, man, I'm too lazy. Why don't you do it? And I was like, I haven't done any of that. I'm just getting started. And he was like, exactly. So people are going to relate to you more than they'll ever relate to me. So I was like, true, true. I'm just wasting time here. So yeah, I got into it maybe 2.5, 3 months ago, and just posted my first YouTube video, and it was so crappy. Like, it was so bad. And I just opened up TikTok and YouTube at the same time, and it was just terrible. Like, I was getting no traction whatsoever. But I was like, hey, whatever, anything that does go and get views, I'll pick up from it, and I'll keep doing more of that. And anything that does not take off, I'll just stop doing whatever that I did through that. And I just kept trying to learn more and more. And I thought, like, hey, the more I'll post, the better I'll have to get, because the more I'll fail. So I just thought, hey, if I'm posting once a day, I gotta up it to two, and then I upped it to three, and then now I'm at like 4 times a day I post on YouTube. So it's just how many times you fail, just like cold calling, right? Just like sales, um, and almost like anything in life. The more times you fail, the more you'll learn, right? So it's like, how fast can you go through those no's and all those rejections? because every time you face a rejection, you learn something. So yeah, it was just like repetition and just more and more and more and more and more. And just got hooked into the growth of everything. So yeah, I'm kind of like addicted at this point, like a drug addict to all this.
I agree. Yeah, I never thought I'd be on social media like this, and with a YouTube channel. And like you said, that first few, you put it out there. I mean, it's horrible. Mine are awful, but you got to just put it out there, and then, like you said, it gets a little bit better and a little bit better, and you get better at it, and it's not so bad after. But yeah, I'm actually having fun doing it. It's kind of fun. You meet a lot of cool people, you interact with a lot of different people, and it's good. I mean, I think it's a good part of networking, and it does help. It helps build your brand, and yeah, you're doing some amazing things. I love it. So before we wrap up, you did kind of touch on it a little bit earlier. You did mention a book that you recommend. Is there, maybe, since you already mentioned the book, is there like a maybe certain podcast that or YouTube channel that you follow that kind of you love the content they put out, or even minds, not doesn't have to be real estate, but maybe entrepreneurship or just mindset?
For mindset. So Nick actually recommended me this book and I related to it so well. And I'm like hooked on to reading it. Um, but it's this one right here. It's called Relentlessness or Relentless. Yeah. Relentless by Tim Grover.
Hmm.
And he talks about how he trained Michael Jordan and Kobe. Um, and growing up, I was into sneakers and I was like huge Michael Jordan fan, not even because of watching him play or anything, just because of his sneakers. Um, and he talks about like why those people are so successful and how he trains them. And going through this book, it touches so many things that I do and how I think. And now I see like why Nick recommended me this book. I think like and anybody that's looking to just dominate the workforce and any part in life, no matter what they're into, if they're a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is, you have to be relentless in anything that you're doing. And you need to be laser focused because it talks about having a work life balance and things like that. And these people don't believe in that. And it's just like how I am. I'm like super addicted to just the grind and hustle. It's like all I do. And anyone that's super successful, that's all they do. So yeah, it's this book I recommend. I love it. Like hooked to it. It doesn't really teach you too much, but it's just a huge mindset book. So I love reading this. Um, I just relate to it a lot. And it also shows me that how I am, because everybody in life, like friends, family, everybody says that, hey, I have a problem. Like you shouldn't work this hard. You should get some sleep. You should do this. You should do that. You should take some time to take care of yourself or whatever. And in this book, it makes me feel like I'm normal, So I love it. I absolutely love it. And so yeah, that's like my absolute favorite as of right now, at least.
Awesome. Yeah, I love Tim Grover's content. I mean, especially even on social media, he puts out some great stuff out there. But I'm kind of adding this up in my head while you're talking. You're 23. Jordan wasn't even playing, right? Was he, when when
I
you were
don't think so.
younger?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So Jordan, I mean, you just like the sneakers, you were saying.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
so
yeah.
do you follow basketball somewhat on a regular basis, or not? I
Not
mean,
at all.
not at
No.
all. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was even like talking about the basketball earlier
Yeah.
on. Yeah, like I don't. On my free time, I just love to learn more. And right now, anytime I get a chance, I'm always watching Pace Morby stuff. Um, from either his YouTube videos or his course. I'm like just trying to learn everything. Um, he almost teaches about anything that you'll basically need in the world of real estate on his course. So I'm just trying to even finish half of his course because it's so long. And yeah, so anytime I'm either working, making calls, building relationships, trying to make deals happen, or I'm honing my craft and trying to better myself. And then with the little spare time I have left, I try to squeeze content in there. Yeah. So
I concur. You gave me like 1 day, 1 hour window that you're available. So I concur. You're always hustling, you're always working, and building your brand. So that's awesome. I we talked earlier. I didn't get a chance to bring this up, so I'm gonna throw it out there and see if you know what your response is gonna be. But so a lot of my guests that are on, you see the superheroes in the background, and the one thing I always want to ask them is kind of, do they have a favorite superhero or superpower that kind of relates to them? But what superpower do you say is helping you along this journey right now?
Honestly, is never getting content, and just focus. That's like the biggest superpower that you would basically need right now in this era is attention is just so vital, and everyone's trying to steal it. So you have like, every little thing is trying to steal your attention right now. And if you have the focus to stay laser focused onto your goal, whatever you're doing, um, that's like gold right now. That's like the best trait to have, and that's like kind of like a superpower. But you have it in your background right now, Iron Man. That he's my favorite. So yeah, I love Iron Man.
I have a feeling you like Tony Stark.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, this
So
has been
yeah.
a lot of fun. So, like I said, we did try to get Nick on, but he's busy working on a deal right now. So hopefully maybe we can do this again, you and Nick together, talking about maybe some deals you're working on, or maybe even when you get your first rental, under your own for your own portfolio, we can have you on and ask you how that went. But
Mhm.
but thanks for taking the time coming here, talking to my audience. But before I do let you go, I want to, please remind them where they can connect with you. Give them all your handlines and as far as where they can connect and reach out to you.
Yeah, yeah. Sham Invests on Instagram. That'll be like the fastest way to reach me, or just on any platform. It's the same handle. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Let's connect. I love meeting new people, and I will definitely reply. So yeah, let's chat. And yeah, also for sure. I mean, I'm definitely planning on buying some rentals by the end of this year. Like, before taxes next year, I'm gonna definitely, go ahead and try to pick up as many rentals as I can. So yeah, for sure. Let's definitely talk about that as well.
Yeah, we'll have you back on. And if anybody's in the markets that you mentioned, looking for deals, hit up Sham and see if you guys can work something out. But again, thanks for joining me. And for all my audience out there, please like, subscribe, hit that notification button and just keep looking for all those great deals out there. And we'll be in touch, Sham.
Take it easy. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Bye.